All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Crypto Talk. Bitcoin, Brandon from Los Angeles, California. It was a bright, sunny day today. I think the rains have finally stopped, at least for a week or so. Much needed out here. We're going to be short tonight. Only have two articles I'm going to cover. Today's the birthday of the World Wide Web. 30 years old. Unbelievable. Seems like it's been here a lot longer than that. Go ahead and type in the chat box where you're listening in from. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button on the YouTube channel. I see we have Linda Reuter, Bethany Gibbs, Abdul Wild, Lashana Robinson, Lorna Vasquez. Welcome, welcome. As a disclaimer, I am not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share suggestions, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. There's 4 rules I live by in the crypto space to have success. Rule number 1, education is key. Education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money that you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get your return on investment back as fast as possible. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Make a decision, take action, find a vehicle of your choice, and stay focused. Do not get distracted. Now, this is not going to guarantee you success, but it will at least minimize your risk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most that we can ask for. Let's go ahead and get screen shared up. We can get this started. All right, you should be able to see my screen now. Let's look at what the market is doing since this morning. Crypto market cap 134 billion. It has grown by 100 million since this morning. Bitcoin dominance remains at 51.3%, but the market looks in the green. A little flat, but in the green. This morning it was down at least 1%. It turned around just a bit. New money hit the stage. Best performers last 24 hours. Crypto.com chain still at 142.74%. Like we said this morning, this looks like this is going to be the year of the altcoin. Maximind coins up 27%, Zcoin 25%, Quash or Cash 23%, Engine coin. Weren't they just the #1 worst performer this morning? And now it jumped back at 19% up? Wow, interesting. That's a coin you want to get and hold on to. They're tied with Samsung. VeChain, Bytecoin, Aurora, Ravencoin. Look at all these double digits for all the altcoins. Worst performers, Theta, ABBC coin, Digitex Futures, Augur, Loom, DAI, Bitcoin Cash. You know, I'm going to do my own private research later I want to look at the best performers, these altcoins, and I'm going to look at their projects. Especially these, you never heard of these coins, 50 and above. What are they? Do they have any real world significance to them? Is that why they're rising? I know Engine Coin does. I had never heard of Crypto.com chain, but it's skyrocketed. Anyways, Bitcoin price rally could be on last legs. Bloomberg analysts warn. Now, I agree. The only problem is I don't agree with it coming from Bloomberg's mouth. Normally anything coming out of Bloomberg and MSNBC, I do the opposite. But maybe they're turning a turn to finally start to get some things correct. Wait, what? Captain Marvel faces boycott backlash over Brie Larson's man-hating. What man-hating? I saw the movie. There was no man-hating in it. Good grief. People are freaking sensitive. Come on, fellas. Let the ladies have a movie. Good grief. A key market indicator shows that the Bitcoin price rally may be losing steam. Why would they even have this in? Well, I guess, most of the diehard Bitcoin people are a bunch of nerds living in their mom's basement. So superhero flicks, they kind of got butthurt over Brie Larson, a movie that was about a female superhero, and she happens to be the strongest of them all. You got a problem with that? Anyways, according to Bloomberg, Bitcoin's moving average divergence indicator has been steadily falling since mid-February. MACD is a commonly used metric for technical analysis. When it diverges from the symbol, it means that a trend may be over with. Watch out, Bitcoin bears, MACD isn't everything. And I don't know what MACD really is. Moving average convergence indicator. Okay. Let's keep in mind, well, I don't think, did I miss anything here? No. Let's keep in mind, however, that this is crypto. Old world tools like MACD and EMA only go so far here. Long-term charting suggests that Bitcoin may be overbought. No, I say Bitcoin's real price is about 14K. It is not overbought. But sellers may nevertheless back away from the market if demand pressure depresses the price. People holding at this point in the game don't have a lot to lose by waiting a while longer. One key group that will always sell are certain parts of the mining industry, but they are increasingly developing strategies to deal with lengthy bear markets. No, I say most people that sell are those who are uneducated. They got in when Bitcoin was at 20,000 a coin. The market dropped, and they want to cut their losses. They're afraid of losing any more. The diehards aren't selling anything. They're doing the opposite. Bloomberg analyst Mike McGlone thinks differently. He believes the market is preparing for yet another significant downturn. Somebody on Bloomberg thinks like I do, similar to the one that saw Bitcoin drop by 50% from October to December. Conditions are akin to November, just prior to the collapse. Prices are consolidating within narrowing ranges, with a few sharp bear market rallies that appear fleeting. eToro senior market analyst Matty Greenspan commented that the money is actually just moving further down the market cap list. He said, as we approach the culmination of the crypto winter, we're actually seeing some of the altcoins delivering spectacular gains in the last few weeks. We are now in what industry insiders like to call alt season. Really? It's the first time I heard of that term, alt season. But I agree. I thought it was going to be 2018, but that's 2019. Everything got put on hold for a year. Alt season. Bitcoin's gains have been sluggish compared to Litecoin and Ether. Bloomberg concludes, Litecoin is perhaps the breakout story of the year. Really? Charting up from under $30 to its present state of $50. An actual gain. Adjusting for price deflation, it will be in the hundreds during better times. Is the so-called rally over? This reporter, for one, is never willing to say as much about Bitcoin. We have to take the long view in the end. This wasn't a rally to begin with from that perspective. It was more business as usual, I agree. If I have $1 today and it loses 50% value tonight, then regains 10% tomorrow, was it rallying? Or am I just slightly less in the hole? It's a good analogy. But wait, didn't an analyst say this last month? Perhaps the wisdom to draw from the MACD is that people targeting the $4,000 region might want to consider cooling their jets. Those prices might not be available much longer. For buyers, a waiting period might be beneficial as well. To let the whales play out the last of the rally game, it's worth noting that just last month, analysts called the end to the rally. It continued for another $500 roughly. If the same thing happens this time, the continuation might be longer. But again, this is crypto. So I say, let me look at this again. Current price, 39.08. I still believe that this is going to drop below 3,000 before it comes back up big time. And I notice that any gains that's happening, like the article said, is right. It's the altcoins. The altcoins are having a lot of movement than the others, especially more growth than Bitcoin is. All right, last up. World Wide Web turns 30. Where were you 30 years ago? Let's see, 30 years ago. How old were you 30 years ago? You know, I was 12. 1988. What was I in 7th grade? 6th or 7th grade then. I'd say 7th grade if I was 12. Wow. I was into skateboarding, breakdancing. 1988. George Bush was elected president. 1988. Huh. That was an interesting year when I can remember being 12. So, wow. So really, I remember what life was like before the internet, really before the internet. But I was still a kid back then. You know, my children, this is all they know. And I'm not talking AOL dial-up internet. Fast speed internet is all they know. I went from no internet to AOL dial-up internet to the dot-com bubble bursting to now mainstream internet where we have it today. I have to say, Back to the Future got it wrong. Back to the Future came out in 1985. There was no internet. So when they went to the future, 35 years in the future, or 30 years in the future, 2015, or was it 33? I don't know, I don't remember. But in their version, the only thing that there is not today is hoverboards. Oh, and the Nike shoes that tie themselves. Oh, no. I think they came out with that. And the self-dry jackets and the flying cars. I don't know. We kind of have those now too. Drones and stuff. Yeah, we have that stuff. But you notice nobody was walking around with cell phones. There was no internet back then. There was no World Wide Web in their future that we have now. Interesting. So what comes next? Today, March 12th, marks the 30th anniversary of the World Wide Web. To celebrate, we'll look back on how it began, assess the progress it's made, and ask the all-important questions. Has it failed? And what comes next? While sometimes used interchangeably, it's important to separate the World Wide Web from the internet. Oh, okay. The former refers to the network of information consisting of web pages and other similar resources identifiable by Uniform Resource Locators, or URLs. The internet, on the other hand, is the technology that enables users to access those resources. How many of you understood that difference? How many of you even knew what URL stands for? Uniform Resource Locators. Okay, well, I know what www stands for, at least. The web first came into existence as a brainchild of Tim Berners-Lee, an English engineer and computer scientist. While working at CERN, Berners-Lee wrote a proposal aimed at combining the domain name system and transmission control protocol with hypertext. This combination, after a few iterations, brought about the first web page, which laid out the basics of the idea and gave more information on creating new pages. In a British Council ranking of the 80 moments that shaped the world, the creation of the World Wide Web came in at number 1. Think about that right there. If the internet is the number 1 creation to shape the world, what do you think blockchain technology ranks in there? What do I always say? It is going to have an impact on society as big as when we were introduced to agriculture. Yes, it's that big. The fastest growing communications medium of all time, the internet has changed the shape of modern life forever. Yeah, I like watching Sandlot. I always say that. Forever. We can connect with each other instantly, all over the world. The impact of web access. It's impossible to fully grasp the impact of the web. It is a fundamentally transformational technology that has reshaped every aspect of modern life. But beyond the online shopping and cat videos, the web provides something of paramount importance: accessibility of information. For the first time in history, knowledge is not restricted to the elite. Open Library provides a portal for borrowing books online. Wikipedia is home to millions of mostly well-cited entries on everything from particle physics to home cooking. YouTube has thousands upon thousands of hours of educational and not so educational videos. With the invention of the World Wide Web came true freedom. Now anyone with an internet connection can access the totality of human knowledge from a device that fits in their pocket. That is revolutionary. Imagine if Albert Einstein were alive today to see that. The entire world's knowledge and history is at every single person's fingertips. You don't have to go to university to get it. Revolutionary. Mind-boggling, actually, if you really sit down to think about it. Of course, Sir Berners-Lee invention is not without its failures. The ease of information distribution does not preclude disinformation, now known popularly as fake news. I hate that term, fake freaking news. Despite national attention, the phenomenon is still alive and well. From false claims meant to manipulate markets to bots masquerading as users, the web is directly responsible for the spreading of fabricated, exaggerated, and even intentionally harmful information. You can't blame the web for that. Same thing was going on before the web. You think misinformation only started because of the web? No, every form of communication, there has always been some form of manipulation of information. Like history. History is written by the victors. If you go to history books today, and you look at history books today compared to history books 60 years ago, talking about the same subject, they're not saying the same things anymore. They're not. It's being rewritten. If anything, the internet has allowed us to be able to find the truth in the midst of disinformation, to allow you to do your own research and not just listen to whatever's being told to you. In response to the propagation of such harm, Sir Berners-Lee wrote an open letter calling for reform of the world's most valuable resource. While the web has created opportunity, given marginalized groups a voice, and made our daily lives easier, it has also created opportunity for scammers, given a voice to those who spread hatred, and made all kinds of crime easier to commit against the backdrop of news stories about how the web is misused. It's understandable that many people feel afraid and unsure if the web is really a force for good. What do you mean? It's not a force for bad or good. It's a tool. How you use it determines if you're using it for bad or good. But given how much the web has changed in the past 30 years, it would be defeatist and unimaginative to assume that the web as we know it can't be changed for the better in the next 30. If we give up on building a better web now, then the web will not have failed us. We will have failed the web. That's like saying, we can't use automobiles because criminals use automobiles to conduct robberies and get away from the police. We can't make airplanes. Airplanes must be of use of evil because you can use airplanes to bomb people. Come on now. Beyond its misuse, the push against the net neutrality from internet service providers and uninformed or well-lobbied politicians led the inventor of the internet to feel he must step in to save his creation. Sir Berners-Lee's organization, the World Wide Web Foundation, is currently fighting against two of the web's most significant problems: the movement to end net neutrality and the relative inaccessibility of its benefits to those in the developing world. I agree with both. So what comes next? So what's next for what is, in all likelihood, the most impactful innovation in human history? The blockchain. Blockchain technology enables the Internet of Things. It can combat plagiarism. It can take the power of the web back from centralized control. It can even help bring access to those currently without. Blockchain, even in its early stages, is showing its capability to revolutionize the world's social, political, economic, and even cultural paradigms. Tim Berners-Lee took the first step toward an empowered global community with the World Wide Web. Now, 30 years later, it's time to take the next step. Oh, I wish this article could go. You know what? I could write the rest of this article of the next step of blockchain on how it's going to solve what the internet wasn't able to do. Biggest of them all is the internet was now the transfer and exchange of information. The blockchain is now the transfer, change, and verification of ownership of data. It takes it to it's like using beaming technology. It's no longer double spinning, no longer double copies. And being decentralized means that it is 100% pure. There's no CEO that's looking at the bottom line. There's no shareholders that don't care about the public. They just want to make as much money as possible. There's no government. There's no bank. There's no company. It is what it is. If only, I wish I would have figured this out 5 years ago, at least, maybe 10 years ago. I wish I was able to see into the future 20 years ago and worked my entire life to prepare for this moment so that I have more resources to play in this game. But we're still at the early stages. We're still the early adapters. It's not too late. That every single person, and this is important, every single person currently involved in crypto right now can be a multi-millionaire, because the amount of people involved right now is nothing compared to when the mainstream comes on board. And only shame on you if you do not take advantage of this time period that we live in, this history in the making. Did our parents take advantage of the internet 30 years ago? That's why I had this talk with my dad. I said, Dad, had you jumped in on this back in the early 90s, you'd be in a different situation today. That I'm not going to have my children tell me, hey, Dad, I remember you talking about that Bitcoin stuff, 30 years ago. What's up? What's up with our family wealth? Did you do anything back then? Or did you remain a sheep? I can't have that talk with my sons. So anyways, happy birthday to the World Wide Web. Just getting started. Let's take our piece of the pie. That's it for Late Night Crypto Talk. Should be back tomorrow morning for early morning crypto talk. Hope you learned something new. As always, that's the point. And Tony Pinkston, congratulations on your new business partner today. Have a great day, everybody. God bless. Good night. Bye-bye.